screen curtain off.
Jesus.
Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm doth bind the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee for those in peril on the sea. O Savior, whose almighty word the winds and waves submissive heard, who walkest on the foaming deep and calm amidst its rage did sleep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee for those in peril on the sea. O sacred Spirit, who didst bring.
It's 1 o'clock. You're listening to KWOJ-LP, San Angelo, Texas, FM 102.5. Brought to you by the 9th and Main Church of Christ. Visit us online at 9thandmaincoc.org.
It's 41 degrees.
May I reach heaven's joys, O bright and sun, heart of my heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
Hello, and welcome again to our study of the book of Judges. Remember last time, as we were studying together, we first observed that you must turn again to be blessed. Samson had turned away from God effectively when he let Delilah know what the source of his strength was, thereby breaking his Nazirite vow when his head was shorn, and God turned away from him. But when Samson turned back to God, then he was blessed. God helped him to kill even more Philistines in his death than he had in his lifetime. We then noticed a second idea by beginning to study about this man named Micah. Micah was an interesting fellow, but what we learn from him is false worship of the true God does not pay. And boy, is that ever the case. We've begun to see that. We're going to see it more thoroughly before we're finished. But already we're beginning to notice God is not really blessing this fellow. He's being approached by this massive army of Danites, some 600 men. And really, things aren't going to work out like he thought they would. He thought he'd be blessed, but no, not so. And that ought to tip us off to the importance of us doing the Lord's will in everything that we do. But before we go further in our study, I do want to give you an opportunity to have a free Bible study sent to your own home. Listen to this.
Gospel Broadcasting Network offers a free, non-denominational Bible course. It's based strictly on God's Word and not the creeds or traditions of men. Why not contact us for lesson number 1?
Walking in sunlight, sunlight of love, heavenly sunlight, heavenly sunlight.
You may want to enroll by email. The address is info@gbntv.org. To enroll by phone, call us toll-free at 888-805-3390.
So, last time, as we wrapped things up, we saw that the 600 Danites had come to the house of Micah. And you may remember that really nobody here is exactly doing everything God wanted them to do. Dan had an allotted piece of land. They did not seize upon that. They didn't trust God enough to seize upon it. Micah is worshiping God in a terrible way, a way that God never would have approved of. He is, after all, using carved images, which is exactly what God said not to do in the Ten Commandments. But now the Danites are at the house of Micah, and in verse 17 of Judges chapter 18 we find, "Then the 5 men who had gone to spy out the land went up. Entering there, they took the carved image, the ephod, the household idols, and the molded image. The priest stood at the entrance of the gate with the 600 men who were armed with weapons of war. When these went into Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, the household idols, and the molded image, the priest said to them, 'What are you doing?' And they said to him, 'Be quiet. Put your hand over your mouth and come with us. Be a father and a priest to us. Is it better for you to be a priest to the household of one man, or that you be a priest to a tribe and a family in Israel?' So the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod and the household idols and the carved image and took his place among the people. Then they turned and departed and put the little ones, the livestock, and the goods in front of them. When they had gone a good way from the house of Micah, the men who were in the houses near Micah's house gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. And they called out to the children of Dan. So they turned around and said to Micah, 'What ails you that you've gathered such a company?' And so he said, 'You have taken away my gods which I made, and the priest, and you have gone away. Now what more do I have? How can you say to me, what ails you?' And the children of Dan said to him, 'Do not let your voice be heard among us, lest angry men fall upon you and you lose your life with the lives of your household.' Then the children of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house." Remember? Micah thought that because he was worshiping God, he would be blessed. The problem is, he was worshiping God in his own way. He was doing what seemed right to him. That didn't work out very well. It failed him. So the Danites proceeded. Verse 27 tells us, "So they took the things Micah had made, and the priest who had belonged to him, and went to Laish, to a people quiet and secure. And they struck them with the edge of the sword, and burned the city with fire. There was no deliverer, because it was far from Sidon, and they had no ties with anyone. It was in the valley that belongs to Beth Rehob. So they built a city and dwelt there, and they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan, their father, who was born to Israel. However, the name of the city formerly was Laish. Then the children of Dan set up for themselves the carved image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. So they set up for themselves Micah's carved images, which he had made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh." It's a sad report. The Danites are also doing what seems right in their own eyes. And in the process, they're failing really to worship the true God of heaven. That's the first story that demonstrates that, but it's not the only one. The book of Judges closes with a tragic story, and a story that, quite frankly, is a bit shocking to me. We will try our best to just read over it and not make any severe comments. I think it will be apparent what's going on here. Chapter 19 of Judges. "And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite staying in the remote mountains of Ephraim. He took for himself a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. But his concubine played the harlot against him and went away from him to her father's house at Bethlehem in Judah, and was there 4 whole months. Then her husband arose and went after her to speak kindly to her and bring her back, having his servant and a couple of donkeys with him. So she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the young woman saw him, he was glad to meet him. Now, his father-in-law, the young woman's father, detained him, and he stayed with him 3 days. So they ate and drank and lodged there. Then it came to pass on the 4th day that they arose early in the morning, and he stood to depart. But the young woman's father said to his son-in-law, "Refresh your heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way." So they sat down, the two of them, and ate and drank together. Then the young woman's father said to the man, "Please, be content to stay all the night, and let your heart be merry." And when the man stood to depart, his father-in-law urged him. So he lodged there again. Then he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart. But the young woman's father said, "Please, refresh your heart." So they delayed until afternoon, and both of them ate. And when the man stood to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the young woman's father, said to him, "Look, the day is now drawing toward evening. Please spend the night. See, the day is coming to an end. Lodge here, that your heart may be merry. Tomorrow, go your way early, so that you may get home." However, the man was not willing to spend the night. So he rose and departed, and came to opposite Jebus, that is Jerusalem. With him were the 2 saddled donkeys. His concubine was also with him. Well, that's a rather lengthy reading, but I think it's fairly self-explanatory. This man, this Levite, had a concubine. She was unfaithful to him, but he went and tried to bring her back. After 4 days, or on the 4th day, tried to leave. His father-in-law wanted him to eat, and then he persuaded him to stay one more night. On the 5th day, he got him to eat again, but this time he couldn't persuade him. And so now the man is set off really too late. And he only comes as far as what later would be known as Jerusalem, when it's really getting toward the time that he ought to be stopping. So verse 11, they were near Jebus, and the day was far spent. And the servant said to his master, "Come, please, and let us turn aside into this city of the Jebusites and lodge in it." But his master said to him, "We will not turn aside here into a city of foreigners who are not of the children of Israel. We will go on to Gibeah." So he said to his servant, "Come, let us draw near to one of these places and spend the night in Gibeah or in Ramah." And they passed by and went their way, and the sun went down on them near Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. And they turned aside there to go in to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat down in the open square of the city, for no one would take them into his house to spend the night. Just then an old man came in from his work in the field at evening, who also was from the mountains of Ephraim. He was staying in Gibeah, whereas the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he raised his eyes, he saw the traveler in the open square of the city. And the old man said, "Where are you going, and where do you come from?" So he said to him, "We are passing from Bethlehem in Judah toward the remote mountains of Ephraim. I am from there. I went to Bethlehem in Judah. Now I'm going to the house of the Lord. But there's no one who will take me into his house. Although we have both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for myself and for your female servant and for your young man who is with your servant, there is no lack of anything." And the old man said, "Peace be with you. However, let all your needs be my responsibility. Only do not spend the night in the open square." So he brought him into his house and gave fodder to the donkeys, and they washed their feet and ate and drank. Now, what we're seeing here is a true display of hospitality. God taught His people to welcome in strangers, explaining to them that they once had been strangers in the land of Egypt, and they ought to know what it's like, and they ought to take care of strangers. Well, this man, this older man from Ephraim, does just that. He takes care of this man, his concubine, and his servant, as well as the donkeys that they brought with them. But the next verse, verse 22 of chapter 19, presents us with a tragic event. As they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beat on the door. They spoke to the master of the house and the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who came to your house, that we may know him carnally." Now, I don't want to get into too great a detail here, but the point is that they want to have relations, intimate relations, with a man, men with men. And we already know that's an abomination in the eyes of God, clearly seen in Genesis chapter 19. And certainly it is not something that God's people ought to be doing. But listen to what happens. Verse 23. But the man, the master of the house, went out to them and said to them, "No, my brethren, I beg you, do not act so wickedly. Seeing this man has come into my house, do not commit this outrage. Look, here is my virgin daughter and the man's concubine. Let me bring them out now. Humble them and do with them as you please. But to this man, do not do such a vile thing." Now, you can tell how serious it is. This offer that this man makes is within itself tragic. But apparently he thought less tragic than doing this to a stranger who he welcomed into his house. But the man would not heed him, verse 25. So the man took his concubine and brought her out to them. And they knew her and abused her all night until morning. And when the day began to break, they let her go. Then the woman came as the day was dawning and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was, till it was light. When her master arose in the morning, he opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. There was his concubine, fallen at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, "Get up, let us be going." But there was no answer. So the man lifted her onto the donkey, and the man got up and went to his place. When he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, and divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout all the territory of Israel. And so it was that all who saw it said, "No such deed has been done or seen from the day that the children of Israel came up from the land of Egypt until this day. Consider it and confer and speak up." Well, a tragedy has taken place. There's no doubt about that. And the tragedy results in this man basically calling for everyone to observe what has taken place. A terrible sin has taken place in the land of Israel, and it needs to be dealt with. Now, you have studied with me and with others in the book of Joshua. You know what happens when there's sin in the camp and it's not taken care of. The children of Israel had in their number Achan, who took of the things that had been devoted to God out of the city of Jericho. And because of that, they lost in a tragic defeat at Ai, a defeat that was not necessary, because after all, if they had just have done what God said, they would have been fine. But they didn't. So it's appropriate that this man would do precisely what he is doing, that he would notify Israel, we've got a sin problem, and now they need to deal with it. So chapter 20 opens, "So all the children of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, as well as from the land of Gilead. And the congregation gathered together as one man before the Lord at Mizpah. And the leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew the sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. Then the children of Israel said, "Tell us, how did this wicked deed happen?" So the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered and said, "My concubine and I went into Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin, to spend the night. And the men of Gibeah rose against me and surrounded the house at night because of me. They intended to kill me, but instead they ravished my concubine so that she died. So I took hold of my concubine, cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout the territory of the inheritance of Israel, because they committed lewdness and outrage in Israel. Look, all of you are children of Israel. Give your advice and counsel here and now." So all the people arose as one man, saying, "None of us will go to his tent, nor will any turn back to his house. But now, this is the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot. We will take 10 men out of every 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, 100 out of every 1,000, and 1,000 out of every 10,000, to make provision for the people, that when they come to Gibeah in Benjamin, they may repay all the vileness that they have done in Israel." So all the men of Israel were gathered together against the city, united together as one man. Now you might ask, why? What motivates them to do this? The answer is really in the next couple of verses, where it says, "Then the tribes of Israel sent men through the tribe of Benjamin, saying, 'What is this wickedness that has occurred among you?'" Now, the wickedness is clearly described in Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 22. They all know it. It's a violation of the law to have relations with a woman not your wife. And yet that's what they had done. And so verse 13, "Now therefore deliver up the men, the perverted men who are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and remove the evil from Israel." But the children of Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. Instead, the children of Benjamin gathered together from their cities to Gibeah to go to battle against the children of Israel. I think we've got to recognize that in doing this, they had become complicit in the sin that had been committed by Gibeah. Turn over to the book of Hosea. In Hosea chapter 9 and verse 9, we find, "They are deeply corrupted as in the days of Gibeah. He will remember their iniquity. He will punish their sins." So, God knew that sin had gone on. So did the people of Benjamin. And yet, they allied themselves with those in sin, thereby becoming complicit, participating, as it were, in the sin. And from their cities, verse 15, "At that time, the children of Benjamin numbered 26,000 men who drew the sword, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, who numbered 700 select men. Among all the people were 700 select men who were left-handed. Every one could sling a stone at a hair's breadth and not miss. Now, besides Benjamin, the men of Israel numbered 400,000 men who drew the sword. All of these were men of war. Then the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God to inquire of God. They said, 'Which of us shall go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin?' The Lord said, 'Judah first.' So the children of Israel rose in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in battle array to fight against them in Gibeah. Then the children of Benjamin came out of Gibeah, and on that day cut down to the ground 22,000 men of the Israelites. And the people, that is, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves again, formed the battle line at the place where they had put themselves in array on the first day. Then the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until evening, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I again draw near for battle against the children of my brother Benjamin? And the Lord said, Go up against him. So the children of Israel approached the children of Benjamin on the second day. And Benjamin went out against them from Gibeah on the second day and cut down to the ground 18,000 more of the children of Israel. All these drew the sword. So 40,000 men have now died trying to bring punishment to Benjamin for what has been done. So then verse 26 of chapter 20. Then all the children of Israel, that is all the people, went up and came to the house of God and wept. They sat down before the Lord and fasted that day until evening. And they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. So the children of Israel inquired of the Lord. The ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of my brother Benjamin, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hand. Then Israel set men in ambush all around Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day and put themselves in battle array against Gibeah as at other times. So the children of Benjamin went out against the people and were drawn away from the city. They began to strike down and kill some of the people, as at the other times, in the highways, one of which goes up to Bethel and the other to Gibeah. And in the field about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, They are defeated before us as at the first. But the children of Israel said, Let us flee and draw them away from the city to the highways. So all the men of Israel arose from battle array at Baal Tamar. Then Israel's men in ambush burst forth from their positions in the plain of Geba, and 10,000 select men from all Israel came against Gibeah, and the battle was fierce. But the Benjamites did not know that disaster was upon them. The Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed that day 25,100 Benjamites. All these drew the sword. Well, they were defeated, as well they should have been, for all the evil that they had done. Now, if you've looked at the tallying of the numbers, you realize that there now are only 600 men that remain of the tribe of Benjamin. All of those that had gone to battle swore that they would not give a wife to any of the men of Benjamin. Those men of Benjamin went out and hid themselves and at a place where they could not easily be defeated. Well, after further thought, the men of Israel decided that they did not want to lose an entire tribe in the land of Israel. And so they began to counsel among themselves. What are we going to do? And here's what they decided. They said, well, let us look out first and see who did not come up to go to battle when we called for everyone to come to battle. And they discovered that Jabesh Gilead had not come to the assembly. And so they went over to Jabesh Gilead. They killed all of the men and all the women who had previously known men. And there were left 400 virgins. These virgins were given to the 600 Benjamites, but that left 200 without any wives. And so the next thing that happened was that they decided that they remembered there was a special feast in Shiloh every year. And they told the men of Shiloh, just basically, don't stop this. You have nothing to do with it. You're not giving your wives to them, which would violate your covenant, your oath. But instead, just let these men take what they need so that we don't lose a tribe. And that's exactly what happened. Every Benjamite ended up having a wife, and once more that tribe was reestablished. Sad is what happened in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own eyes. There was evil in the camp, and they didn't even deal with it. They didn't eradicate it, and God had to deal in a way that may seem very harsh to us. But he had to deal with his people so that they would learn that he's God, he's in charge, and they needed to yield to him. The message of Judges is plain. The real ruler of God's people is God himself. That message is something we need to learn even now so that we please the Almighty.
May I reach heaven's joys, O bright sun, heart of my heart, whatever befall, still be sacred.
Speech off. Speech on. Screen mirroring. Button. Brightness. 60. Selected. Screen recording.